Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. In our last reading, we talked about the Puranas, the authors of the Puranas, how every Dwapara Yuga, the Vedas are divided into the different Puranas for the sake of our smaller bhutis in the Kali Yuga. And also we talked about the story of Vishnu having his head cut off and why that happened. So let's move on from there. We're now reading chapter 6 in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. The Rishi said, "O Sutta, just now you have spoken of the fight for 5,000 years in that great ocean between Bhagavan Vishnu and the Deva and the Danavas, Madhu and Katabha. How was it that the two greatly powerful Danavas, invincible of the Devas, came to be born there? And why did Bhagavan Vishnu have to kill them? O highly intelligent one, kindly describe this greatly wonderful event." O intelligent one, kindly describe to us the Puranas fulfilling all requirements of life that you heard from the mouth of Vedavyasa. Hearing these words of the rishis, Sutta said, "O highly fortunate ones, when you all are desirous to hear the Puranas and I am ready to tell them, then both of us are blessed on the surface of this earth. In days of yore, in the time of Pralaya, the universal dissolution, when the three lokas and the entire universe dissolved in water, when the Devatas and the Devata Vishnu was lying asleep on the bed of Ananta, the thousand-headed serpent. What arose from the wax of the ears of Vishnu were two very powerful demons, Madhu and Katabha. They grew in the waters of the ocean and played around in the waters and thus passed some of their time. Once on a time, when the two huge-bodied demons were playing with each other like two brothers, they thought that the general rule of the universe is that no effect takes place without a cause, and nothing can rest without the receptacle thereof. But we cannot understand what is our receptacle and who is resting on us, whereupon rests this pleasant expanse of wide ocean. Who was it that created this? And how was this created? Why are we living here, merged within the water? Who created us? And who are our father and mother? Nothing of all these we know. Thus thinking, the demons, when they could not come to any conclusion, Katabha spoke to Madhu, beside him within the waters. "O brother, it seems to me the great immovable force that makes us rest in this water is the cause of all. This whole mass of water, too, pervaded by that force, rests on that. That highest Devi must be the cause of us." When the two demons merged in this thought and understood this, they heard in the air the beautiful Bhag Bija, the sound mantra of Bhag, the speech, the Devi Saraswati. They then began to pronounce repeatedly the Bhag Bija mantra and practiced it with great steadfastness. Next they saw risen high up in the air the auspicious lightning and thought that certainly our mantra that we are repeating has made herself visible in this form of light, and thus we had seen certainly in the air the Saguna form from with attributes of Saraswati, the goddess of speech. Thus thinking in their minds, they, without any food, with their minds controlled, constantly thought of that, with whole mind collected on that, and repeating and meditating on the mantra, became one with that. Thus they passed away 1,000 years in practicing the great tapasya, when the highest Adya Shakti became pleased with them, and seeing the two demons steadfast in their practice of tapas, tired, addressed them, invisible in the way of celestial voice, and said, O two Danavas, I am exceedingly pleased with your tapasya, so ask a boon, whatever you desire, I will grant it. Hearing this, the celestial voice thus, the two demons said, O Devi, O Supreme One, grant us that we will die only when we will it. Hearing this, Devi said, O two Danavas, certainly, by my grace, you too will die only when you will it, and you two brothers will be invincible of all the Suryas and Asuras. There is no doubt in this. Sutta said, when the Devi granted them this boon, the two demons, puffed up with pride, began to play with aquatic animals in the ocean. O Brahmanans, some days this passed away when the two powerful demons saw that Brahma, seated on the lotus of the navel of Lord Vishnu. Doubt came on their minds, and they told him with a view to fight him, O Brahma, either fight with us or leave off that lotus seat and go anywhere you like. If you are so weak, this auspicious lotus seat is not fit for you. For this should be enjoyed by the heroes. So if you are a coward, leave it quickly. Hearing these words of the Danavas, Brahma, engaged in the practice of tapasya, saw the two great powerful heroes and began to think anxiously, what should be done now? And waited there. This ends the 6th chapter of the first book on the preparation for war by Madhu and Katava in the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam by Maharishi Vedavyasa. Chapter 7. Sutta said, seeing the two demons, very powerful, Brahma, the knower of all the sastras, thought of the means. There's Sama, Dana, Beta, Danda, which means conciliation, gifts or bribes, or sowing dissension, and finally war or punishment. Which of these fours he should apply? He thought thus, I do not know their strength, and it is not advisable to enter into war without knowledge of the other person's strength. Again, if I offer praises to them, puffed up with pride, it will simply display my own weakness. And when they will come to know this, only one of them will be sufficient to kill me, and this they will do certainly. To offer bribes is not always advisable, and how can I sow dissension? Therefore, it is best that I should rouse the powerful Lord Vishnu, who is very powerful, and wake him up from his sleep on the 1,000-headed Ananta serpent. He will remove my difficulties. Thus thinking in his mind, Bhagavan Brahma, the lotus-born, remained in the tubular stalk of the lotus from Vishnu's navel, and thence took refuge mentally of Lord Vishnu, the remover of difficulties, and began to chant auspicious hymns to Lord Vishnu, composed of various meters. Involved in deep yoga nidra was Lord Vishnu, meditative sleep. Brahma said, O refuge of the poor, O Vishnu, O Vishnu, O Mahadeva, O Vamana, thou art the Lord of the universe and omnipresent. Thou removest all the difficulties of thy devotees, therefore leave your yoga nidra and get up, O Vasudeva, O Lord of the universe. Thou residest within the hearts of all and knowest their desires. O cause of the world, O supporter of all, thou art shining as King of kings over all, and yet thou dost not understand that the two demons, puffed up with pride, have become ready to kill me. If thou dost neglect me, see me very much distressed and under your protection, then thy name as preserver will become quite useless. Thus praised, when Vishnu did not get up, Brahma thought that Bhagavan Vishnu is now surely under the influence of sleep of the primal force Adi Shakti, and is not therefore getting up. What am I to do now? Thus distressed, these two Danavas, elated with pride, are ready to kill me. Now what am I to do, and where shall I go? I don't find anybody who can protect me anywhere. Thus thinking, Brahma came to the conclusion and decided to chant hymns to the Yoga Nidra herself with one pointed heart. Discussing in his mind, he thought that Adi Shakti, the prime force which kept Bhagavan Vishnu senseless and motionless, would alone be able to save him. As a dead man cannot hear any sound, so Vishnu, merged in deep sleep, knows not anything. When I have praised him so much, and when he has not awakened, then it is certain that sleep is not under Vishnu, but Vishnu is under sleep, and he who is under another becomes his slave. So this Yoga Nidra is now exercising her control over Lord Vishnu. Whether it be myself or Vishnu or Shiva or Savitri or Rama or Uma, all are under the Divine Mother's control. There is nothing to be doubted here. What to speak of other high-souled persons? Now I will chant hymns to Yoga Nidra, under whose influence Bhagavan Vishnu even is lying under deep sleep, inert like an ordinary man. When that eternal Vasudeva will be disposed of her, he will no doubt fight with these demons. Thus deciding, Bhagavan Brahma, seated on the tubular stalk of the lotus, began to chant hymns to Yoga Nidra, residing on the body of Lord Vishnu. Thus Brahma said, O Devi, I have come to understand on the authority of all the words of the Vedas that thou art the only one cause of this universal Brahmana. The more so when thou hast brought the best Vishnu, endowed with discrimination above all beings, under the control of sleep, then the above remark is self-evident. O thou, the player in the minds of all beings, O Mother, I am extremely ignorant of the knowledge of thy name. When Bhagavan Vishnu is sleeping, inert by thy power, then who is there amongst all the wise men who can understand completely thy Leela, full of Maya of thine, who art beyond the gunas? O Bhagavati, Divine Mother, thou being beyond the gunas are displaying like a dramatic performance these various dramatic plays by the conjunction with the three gunas. It is thy three qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas, that the munis meditate every day, in the morning, midday, and evening. But no one is aware of thy ways of doing. O Devi, thou art the nature of the judgment and understanding, giving the rise to knowledge of all the beings. Thou art always the Shri, the wealth and prosperity, giving pleasures to the devas. O Mother, thou art reigning in all the kirti, fame, mati, intellect, dirti, fortitude, kanti, beauty, shraddha, faith, and rati, enjoyment. O Mother, now I am put to great difficulties, and therefore I have got eyewitness of thy nature. No need of farther reasoning and discussing about it. I have not now known that verily, verily thou art the only mother of all the world, as thou hast brought Vishnu under the influence of sleep. O Devi, now when it is evident that all the worlds have come from thee, then the Vedas have also come from thee. What doubt is there? So the Vedas too do not know fully thy name, for the effect can never know its cause. So it is very true that thou art incomprehensible of the Vedas, O Mother, when I, Vishnu, and Shiva, and the other Devas, and my son Narada and other Munis have not been able to realize thy name fully, then who else can be intelligent in this world that will realize all thy nature? So thy glory is beyond that speech of all beings. O Devi, if in the place of sacrifice the ritualists, the knowers of the Vedas, do not utter thy name Swaha, then the Devas, participators of the offerings in the yajna, do not get their share, however hundreds of oblations be offered. So thou art also the giver of sustenance to all of the Devas. O Bhagavati, in previous kalpas, thou hast saved me terrified from the fear of the Danavas. O Devi, now too I am terrified at the sight of the terrible forms of Madhu and Kataiba, and please take my refuge. O high-minded one, now I thoroughly see that by thee, by the power of Yoga Nidra, the whole body of Bhagavan Vishnu is senseless, but how is it that thou dost not realize my sufferings? So either dost thou leave the possession of this Adi Shakti, or destroy thyself those two Danavas. Dost do either of the two as thou likest, O Devi. O Devi, verily thou art blessed who worship thy lotus feet with their whole heart full of devotion and without any hope of getting rewards, abandoning the worship of other devas and knowing thee as the creatrix of the whole world and the giver of all desires. Alas, now the intelligence, beauty, fame, and all good qualities have forsaken Vishnu and fled away to some unknown quarters. O Bhagavati, Divine Mother, thou art really adorable in these three worlds, for by the power of Yoga Nidra, Vishnu has been kept in prison, as it were. In this way, O Mother, thou art the Shakti of all this universe and endowed with all powers and energies. All other things are thy creation. As a dramatic player, though one, plays in the theater assuming many forms, so thou too, being one, playest always in this charming theater of the world, created by thy gunas in various forms. O Mother, thou in the beginning of the yugas dost manifest first the Vishnu form and givest him the pure sattvic Shakti, free from any obscuration, and thereby making him preserve the universe. And now it is thyself that has kept him thus unconscious. Therefore it is an undoubted fact that thou art doing whatever thou willest, O Bhagavati. I am now in danger. If it be thy desire not to kill me, then dost break the silence. Look on me and show thy mercy, O Bhagavati. If it be not thy desire to kill me, then why hast thou created these two demons, my death incarnate? Or is it that thou wanted to put me to ridicule? I have come to know of thy wonderful acts. Thou createst this whole universe, and thyself remaining aloof, playest always in the time of pralaya, resolvest everything again into thee. Therefore, O Bhavani, what wonder is there that thou wouldst want to kill me in this way? But, O Mother, I won't feel any pain if thou willingly killest me. But this is to my great dishonor that being given power over these beings, I would then be made an object to be killed by the Danavas. This indeed is hard for me. So, O thou, Mahamaya, like a sportive girl, get up, O Devi, assumest the wonderful form thyself, and killest me or the two demons as thou willest, or rouse Vishnu, who will then kill the demons. All these are in thy hands. Devi, the goddess of sleep, of the nature of tamas guna, then quitted the body of Bhagavan Vishnu and stood by him. When thus left completely by the Devi Yoga Nidra of unequaled brilliance and splendor for the destruction of Madhu and Katapa, Vishnu began to move his body, and at this Brahma became very glad. Thus ends the 7th chapter of the first book of the Praise of the Devi in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Veda Vyasa. The Rishi said, chapter 8, the Rishi said, O highly fortunate one, a great drought has arrived by your statements. This is ascertained by all the wise men, as written in the Vedas, Puranas, and other sastras, that Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, these three devas, are eternal. None is superior to them in the Brahmata. Brahma creates all the beings, Vishnu preserves, and Maheshvara or Shiva destroys them all in due time. These are the cause of creation, preservation, and destruction. The Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, are really one form indeed. Trinity and unity and unity and Trinity. Being endowed respectively with Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas Guna, they do their respective work. How is it then that Yogamaya has overpowered Vishnu asleep and made him altogether senseless? O highly fortunate one, whither did then go that extraordinary self-knowledge and power of Vishnu while alive? This is our greatest doubt, so kindly advise us that our doubt be removed and our well-being be ensured. What is this Shakti, which you mention to us as well, by whom Vishnu is conquered? Whence is she born? What is the power of that Shakti, and what is her nature? O Sutta, please explain this fully. How was it that Yoga Maya overpowered with sleep the highest deity Vishnu, who is everlasting, intelligent bliss, who is the God of all, the Guru of all the worlds, the creator, the preserver, and destroyer, who is omnipresent, incarnate of purity and holiness, and beyond Rajoguna? How was such a personage brought under the control of sleep? O Sutta, you are very intelligent and the pupil of Veda Vyasa. Destroy our doubt by the sword of wisdom. Hearing this, Sutta said, O highly fortunate Munis, there is none in the three lokas who can clear you this doubt, the mind born of Brahma. Narada, Kapila, and the other eternal sons get bewildered by these questions. What can I then say on this difficult point? See, some person called Bhagavan Vishnu, omnipresent, the preserver of all and the best of all the devas. According to them, all this universe, moving and unmoving, is created by Vishnu. Whereas other worship Mahadev, Shankara, and having Gora for the other half of his body endowed with all powers residing in Kailash, who is mentioned residing in Kailash, surrounded by the host of Bhutis, Bhutas that destroyed the Daksha sacrifice, who is mentioned in the Vedas with the moon on his forehead and with 3 eyes and 5 faces. O highly intelligent ones, there are some other persons that know the Vedas and worship the sun. The wise persons, the intelligent person should adopt that what is seen by perception as self-evident and what is inferred by the observance of good conduct. The wise person says, and it is also stated in the Puranas, that the prime force is present in Brahma as a creative force, is present in Vishnu as the preservative force, and is present in Shiva as a destructive force, and is present in Kurma, the tortoise, and in Ananta, the 1,000-headed snake, as the earth's supporting force, is present in the fire, and is present in the air, and is present everywhere in various manifestations of force. In this whole universe, whoever he may be, all are incapable of any action if he is deprived of his force. What more than this? If Shiva be deprived of Shakti, he becomes lifeless corpse. O great ascetic Rishi, she is present everywhere, thus in everything in the universe, from the highest Brahma to the lowest blades of grass, all moving and non-moving. Verily, everything becomes quite inert. If deprived of force, Shakti, whether in conquering one's enemies or in going from place to place or in eating, one finds oneself quite incapable of if deprived of this force of Shakti. Thus the omnipresent Shakti, the wise called by the name of Bhagavati, those who are verily intelligent should always worship her in various ways and determine thoroughly the reality of her by every means. In Vishnu there is the Sattvic Shakti, then he can preserve, otherwise he is quite useless. So in Brahma there is the Rajasic Shakti, and he creates, otherwise he is quite useless. In Shiva there is the Tamasic Shakti, and he destroys, else he is quite useless. Thus, arguing again and again in one's mind, everyone should come to know that the highest Adi Shakti is her mere will, by her mere will creates and preserves this universe, and she it is who destroys again in time the whole Brahmanda, moving and non-moving. No one is capable to do this respective work, be he Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Indra, fire, sun, Varuna, or any other person whatsoever. Verily, all the Devas perform the respective actions by the use of this Adi Shakti. That she alone is present in cause and effect and is doing every action can be witnessed vividly. The intelligent one calls this Shakti twofold. One is Saguna and the other is Nirguna. The people attached to the senses and the objects worship the Saguna aspect, and those who are not attached worship the Nirguna aspect. The conscious Shakti is the lady of the fourfold aims of life: religion, wealth, desire, and liberation. When she is worshipped according to the rules, she awards all sorts of desires. The worldly persons charmed by the Maya of this world do not know her at all. Some persons know a little and charm others, whereas some dull-headed pundits, impelled by Kali, start sects of heretics for the sustenance of their own bellies. O highly fortunate Munis, in no other yugas were found acts as prevalent as in this Kali Yuga, based on various different opinions and altogether beyond the pale of the Vedic injunctions. Behold again, if Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh be the supreme deities, then why do these 3 devas meditate on another one beyond speech, beyond mind, and practice for years hard austerities, and why do they perform yajnas, sacrifices, for their success in creation, preservation, and destruction? They know verily the highest supreme being, Brahmani, Devi, Shakti, eternal, constant, and therefore they meditate her always in their minds. Therefore, the wise men, knowing this firmly, should serve in every way the highest Shakti, O Munis. This is the settled conclusion of all the sastras. I have heard this great hidden secret from Bhagavan Vedavyasa. He heard it from Narada, and Narada heard it from his own father Brahma. Brahma heard this from Vishnu. O Munis, it is well that the wise even should not hear or think anything to the contrary from these other sources. They should, with their concentrated heart, serve the Mahashakti, the Divine Mother. It is clearly witnessed in this world that if there be any substance wherein this conscious Shakti does not exist, that becomes inert, quite useless for any purpose. So know that fully that it is the highest Divine Mother of the universe that is playing here, residing in every being. Thus ends the 8th chapter of the first book on deciding who is to be worshipped in the Mahapurana Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedavyasa. Hare Kandashvari Mata Ki Jai, Mahamaya Mata Ki Jai, Bole Baba Ki Jai.